Welcome back everyone. This is part 1 of a new series called, What If Goku Was the New King of Everything? Let's aim for 350 likes on this one. Also, don't forget to leave a comment so the video can reach more people. With that said, let's begin. In the universe, there are gods who create life and those who destroy it. These destroyers are called gods of destruction. Assisting them are angels, whose main role is to guide and train future candidates for gods of destruction. Above them are the gods who oversee the cosmos and universes, one of whom is the assistant to the king of the universes, better known as the Grand Priest. Above him are gods so powerful that with just a blink, they can erase an entire universe. These are called kings, and one stands above all as the king of everything, known as Zeno. However, another being, Zalama, is revered as the creator of life itself. Once, the fall into greed and hatred by one of their leaders caused complete havoc across the 18 universes. But then Zalama heard of a mortal's incredible feats, some surpassing even the gods themselves. The scene switches to Zeno-sama's palace, where we find ourselves in the presence of 3 individuals. The first is the creator of all that exists. He appears wearing a white hood that covers his entire body, has light green skin, and is dressed in brown shoes. He also carries a kind of staff that signifies his rank. His name is Zalama, the creator of all that exists and father of Zeno-sama. The second person appears to be a short man with pale blue skin, purple eyes, and white hair styled back. He has a blue halo at the back of his head and wears a blue suit with an orange triangle on his shirt. His belt features the kanji symbol for grand. His name is Daishinkan-sama, or as he is better known, the Grand Priest. The third person is very short and small, with a notably large oval-shaped head. He primarily has sky blue skin, except for 2 sections from his ears to the middle of each eye on both sides of his head, which are purple. He has small round eyes and small gray ears. His main outfit is a magenta and yellow-lined coat, with yellow trousers and magenta shoes. He wears a black and white shirt underneath, with the kanji for all on the front. He usually wears a blank expression on his face. "Father, I'm so glad you've come. I missed you a lot," Zeno-sama said to his father as he ran to embrace him. "I missed you too, my son," the creator of all replied as he returned the hug. "It's an honor that you've come, my lord," Daishinkan said as he kneeled in front of him as a sign of respect. "I've come just to visit my son. It's been a while since I've been with him," he said while looking at his son. "Are you saying you'll only be here for a short while?" his son asked his father. Realizing his son often felt lonely, he decided to do something he had been considering for a long time. "Don't worry, my son, you won't be alone for much longer, I promise," he said with a smile. Hearing this, his son could only smile, thinking his father would be with him forever. "Do you mean you won't go and will stay with me?" he asked his father, who shook his head. "No, my son, very soon you will have a brother with whom you can spend all your time, and you both can have fun together," Zalama told Zeno-sama, impressing both him and the Grand Priest with the news of a new god of everything. "Are you saying I will have a brother?" asked the king of everything, his eyes lighting up with excitement at the thought of having someone to play with. "Yes," his father replied, pleased to see his son so happy. "And when will he be here with us?" Zeno-sama asked eagerly. "It will still be some time before he is born. I think he will be born in about 2 years, Zalama explained. 2 years, Zeno-sama exclaimed, surprised and impatient at the thought of waiting to meet his new brother. "Hey Daishinkan, I want you to research everything about the Saiyans of Universe 7, Zalama instructed the Grand Priest. The Grand Priest nodded and began to search for information about the Saiyans of Universe 7 using his staff. "All right, I think it's time for me to leave. I will come back in a year. I want you to use all the information on the Saiyans to train him to become a true god," Zalama said. The Grand Priest nodded in agreement. "Very well, we will see each other soon, my son," Zalama said as he embraced Zeno-sama. "We will see each other soon, father," Zeno-sama replied, hugging his father tightly. "Thank you for coming, my lord," Daishinkan-sama said to Zalama, giving him a gesture of reverence and respect. With that, Zalama bid farewell and disappeared into space. 1 year later, we found ourselves on planet Vegeta. We were in the presence of a woman who had just returned home after a long day at work. This woman is of medium height and slender build. She has a pale complexion, onyx-colored eyes, and shoulder-length, shaggy black hair. She wears a sleeveless black jumpsuit and pink combat armor highlighted in green and outlined in white, along with purple bracelets and white boots. Her armor also features a thigh band. Like all Sens in her respective universe, she naturally possesses a tail, which unlike most adult Sens, allows to swing freely rather than securing it around her waist. Her name is Guinea. "It seems he still hasn't arrived," she said with a tone of disappointment at not seeing any trace of her husband. But then, the door opens. It was none other than her husband, Bardock. His appearance is characterized by partially spiked, unkempt hair, a scar on his left cheek, slightly darker skin, and sharply defined, clearer eyes. He wears dark blue and green battle armor, a green scouter on his left eye, red cut pants, and black and green shoes. His name is Bardock. "Hey Guinea, I'm home," Bardock shouted to his wife as he stepped inside. "Bardock!" Guinea exclaimed, rushing to embrace him. He gladly received her hug. "You didn't take as long on your mission this time as on other occasions," Guinea remarked, looking up at him. "No, this mission was easier than I thought. It didn't take long, only about a month," Bardock replied with a grin. "And where is Raditz?" Bardock asked, noticing their son's absence. "He was sent to conquer a planet along with King Vegeta. I think he will return in about 2 months, or maybe more," Guinea explained. "King Vegeta, that kid is really a headache," Bardock muttered, thinking about what Raditz had to endure. "And you must be hungry, I assume," Guinea said, knowing her husband's voracious appetite. "Of course," Bardock replied, sitting down at the table where a large feast was prepared. "Hey, you've got food here," Guinea told him, pointing at his lip. "Where?" Bardock asked, looking around. "Here," she said, leaning in to kiss him, causing his sane hormones to surge. The kiss became passionate, and Guinea responded with equal fervor. With each passing second, their kiss grew more intense, leading them towards their bedroom while shedding their sand armors. Once undressed, they continued, playfully intertwining their tails. Note: we will skip this part as everyone knows what happens here. I'll leave it to your imagination. The scene switches back to Zeno-sama's palace. "It is an honor to see you back, sir," Daishinkan said, kneeling in a sign of respect, as did Zeno-sama's bodyguards. "Father!" Zeno-sama exclaimed, running to embrace his father. "My son," Zalama said as he returned the embrace. "It is time, that is all," Zalama said, to which Daishinkan nodded affirmatively. "Yes, my lord, I have everything ready," Daishinkan stated. Zalama then began to create a type of white energy that appeared to have a divine aura, mingling purple and silver hues. Only Daishinkan could perceive the immense power within that sphere. After creating the sphere, it disappeared in a supersonic burst. "Very well, with what I have just done, I have given him the power of a god. Now, your job, Daishinkan, will be to train him properly once he arrives," Zalama told the Grand Priest. "Yes, my lord, it will be a pleasure," the Grand Priest replied, nodding his head in affirmation that he understood his mission going forward. Back on planet Vegeta, Guinea and her husband Bardock were sleeping peacefully after the night they had shared. While still asleep, a white sphere headed towards her, which she did not notice. The sphere entered her belly, and the place lit up briefly, unnoticed by either of them. The next morning, both were eating, but unlike other days, Guinea was eating in a more hurried manner, which did not go unnoticed by her husband. "Wow, Guinea, it looks like you're really hungry this time. Haven't you eaten in a while?" Bardock teased. "No, of course not. I don't know. This has never happened to me before. It's strange," she replied, continuing to eat hastily but with more manners than her husband. "The way you're eating, I almost think you're—" Bardock couldn't finish his sentence as he dropped the large turkey leg he was eating. Considering the likelihood that she might be pregnant after the previous night they had shared, Guinea, hearing what her husband was about to say, could only smile, knowing there was a chance she was pregnant. She knew that sane women ate in an unprecedented manner only when they were pregnant. She thought maybe her quick pregnancy was due to some divine miracle, considering symptoms usually start a week after conception. Then she ran over and hugged her husband, who also embraced her back, happy at the prospect of having another child. The scene switches back to Zeno-sama's palace, where we see both Zeno and the Grand Priest having a conversation. "Lastly, Daishinkan, I have a mission for you, which is to bring him here. I want you to go to planet Earth in Universe 7 when he is born, since he will be sent to that planet. I want you to bring him here, train him, and educate him," Zalama told the Grand Priest. "As you wish, my lord," Daishinkan replied, nodding. "Well, it's time for me to leave," Zalama said as he prepared to depart. "Father, are you leaving so soon?" Zeno-sama asked, somewhat sad as his father had only stayed for a brief moment. "I'm sorry, my son. I know this visit was shorter, but I just came to arrange everything for your brother's arrival. You won't have to be alone much longer. Just wait 9 months until he is born, and then you can be with him forever," Zalama said with a smile to his son, who responded with a nod of affirmation. "We will be waiting for his arrival, my lord," Daishinkan said as he knelt in a sign of respect, along with Zeno-sama's guardians. Zalama bid farewell to his son with a warm hug before disappearing from the palace. Lastly, he gave a smile, and minutes later, he vanished from the location. 9 months later on the vibrant landscape of planet Vegeta, Kakarot, was all Guinea could think as she placed her newborn son in the incubator. She knew the traditions of her planet well and promptly went back to work, trying to push her emotions aside. Meanwhile, Bardock received a call from the Great Frieza, who wanted all the Sens back on the planet. "Looks like you're in a hurry to get back, eager to meet your son," his mission partner teased. Was all Bardock could say, as he did not show his emotions to anyone except his wife, with whom he was completely different. "Well, see you soon," he said, saying goodbye to his friend and fellow mission companion as he took off in another direction. "I'd better go check on Guinea before she gets upset," he said, remembering how sometimes she was fiercer than anything he had ever faced, as he flew toward where his wife was. "Hey, Guinea, I'm home," Bardock said as he approached his wife. "Bardock," Guinea said, surprised and excited to see her husband after a long time. "It's good to be back," Bardock said as he embraced his wife, who did the same. "How is Kakarot?" Bardock asked, eager to meet his son for the first time. "He's fine. Do you want to meet him? Though let me tell you, he looks just like you, like two peas in a pod," Guinea said with a laugh, to which her husband was surprised by what his wife told him. "Really?" he said, amazed by what he heard. "Hey, it looks like there's going to be a festival. Everyone's here," Guinea noted as more Sens arrived by the minute. "I don't know, but something feels off about all this," Bardock said suspiciously, to his wife's surprise. Once at the incubator where Kakarot was, they saw him while Bardock was more than happy to meet his offspring. He then entered the room and took the little Sen out of the incubator while he was still asleep. His wife, seeing what her husband was doing, was about to object but was silenced by Bardock covering her mouth. "Don't say anything, just follow me," he whispered as he handed Kakarot to her, which she accepted and followed him as Bardock quickly entered the control room and stole a ship without anyone noticing. "Bardock, don't tell me you're going to do what I think you're going to do," Guinea said to her husband as she saw him inputting coordinates into the ship. "Guinea, Kakarot is in danger here. Besides, I believe Frieza is plotting something. It's better he doesn't face that risk," Bardock stated as he finished inputting the coordinates for the planet where Kakarot would be sent. "What do you mean by that?" Guinea asked her husband. "I don't know. Doesn't it seem suspicious to you that Frieza wants us all gathered? There must be a scheme," Bardock said as he watched Frieza's ship looming in the sky. "Now that you mention it, that does sound true. But do you think it's a good idea? He's still very small to be sent to a planet," she said, looking at their son who was still asleep. "Don't worry about that, Guinea. He will be sent to Earth, a peaceful planet. He will be in good hands, and humans are people with good intentions," Bardock reassured his wife. "I guess it will be for the best," she said, contemplating that her son would not have to endure what was to happen to their race. She then placed her son on the ship. As the hatch closed, Kakarot woke up and looked around, visibly distressed by his surroundings. His parents approached the ship to say their last words to their son. "Don't worry, my son. If things are not as they seem, your father will come for you," Guinea told her son, who placed his little hand on the ship's window. "Be strong and never give up. Remember, we will always be with you," Bardock said, placing his hand against Kakarot's through the window, alongside Guinea. Seconds later, the ship shot off from the planet at high speed, with only Guinea and Bardock left watching it disappear as they embraced each other. We find ourselves at the palace of Zeno-sama, where Zalama has arrived at his son's palace. "It's a pleasure to see you again, my lord," said Daishinkan as he kneeled in greeting. Zalama smiled in response. "It has been a while since we last met," he said, though he knew it hadn't been long. As they were inside, Zeno-sama ran to embrace his father. "Father," he said as he hugged him, and his father reciprocated. "My son," Zalama replied, hugging his son. "It's a pleasure to see you, sir," said the guards of Zeno-sama as they knelt before him. "Very well, Daishinkan," Zalama said to the Grand Priest, who stepped forward, awaiting orders. "It's time for you to go get him," the creator of everything told Daishinkan, who nodded and then vanished from the spot. "It seems I've arrived faster than I thought," Daishinkan said as he appeared in a forest but noticed a spaceship making its descent to the planet. Inside the ship, he could feel the power of a god and knew whose it was. As the ship landed a bit ahead of where he was, he approached and saw a child with a monkey tail crying. "So here you are," said Daishinkan as he picked up the small sign god. The child could only give him a smile of happiness. "It would be best if we leave here," he said as they teleported away from the planet to Zeno-sama's palace. "Sir, I have arrived," Daishinkan said while holding the child in his arms and handing him over to Zalama. Zalama, holding Goku in his arms, just gave him a big smile. "Very well, as the great creator of everything puts it, you will be Goku," he said while holding the child. Daishinkan, called by the creator of everything as the Grand Priest, responded, "Here I am, sir, what do you need?" As he positioned himself in front of him. "I want you to call all the gods and tell them to present themselves immediately," Zalama told Daishinkan-sama. Yes, sir, as you command, Daishinkan said as he pulled out his staff and spoke through it to all the angels. Here, the Grand Priest calling all the angels, I need the presence of all the gods at this moment. Loud and clear, we'll be there in a moment, replied some angels through their staff. Understood, sir, we are on our way. Other angels responded through the staff. Thank you very much for your attention, I'll be waiting, exclaimed the Grand Priest as he stowed his staff. Back in Universe 7 on Lord Beerus's planet, both him and his angel were having a conversation. Oh, this seems very urgent, remarked a man with light sky blue skin, long white hair, and an elegant, almost feminine appearance. He was dressed in a burgundy robe, black and white armor with yellow, orange, and white details, and black high-heeled shoes. Around his neck was a blue ring, and he carried a long scepter, blue and yellow, with a black gem floating on top. His name was Whis, an angel, assistant, and master of the god of destruction of Universe 7. It's best to wake him up as soon as possible, Whis said as he hurried to awaken his god of destruction, who had not been sleeping for long. Excuse me, but it would be best if you wake up, Lord Beerus. Whis called out to his god of destruction. What's going on, Whis? I told you to wake me up in about 39 years. This better be urgent, grumbled the Hakaishin as he rose from his bed. The figure standing up was a slim humanoid with purple skin, resembling a cat with pointed ears similar to Cornish Rex cats. He wore black Egyptian clothing with gold and blue, adorned with the same white and orange decorations as his ally Whis. His name was Beerus, the god of destruction of Universe 7. I'm very sorry, Lord Beerus, but it seems an emergency has arisen at Lord Zeno's palace, Whis explained. At the mention of Zeno's name, Beerus quickly jumped out of bed, hurriedly putting on his god of destruction robes over his purple nightshirt. Once dressed, he stood next to Whis. All right, let's go. There's no time to waste, said the Hakaishin of Universe 7. Very well, but first we need to pick up Supreme Kai, Whis added. Beerus sighed and responded, all right, but let's not keep Lord Zeno waiting any longer. Seconds later, they vanished in a burst of light. The scene switches to the sacred planet in Universe 7. On the planet, two men were investigating everything about a wizard they believed was present and discovered he had a son, but the son did not seem to pose any risk to their universe. Then, they began to sense some familiar presences approaching. Kibito, do you feel who is heading here? Asked the first man, his apprentice simply nodding in response. The first man was a short being with purple skin, a white crest, and dressed in an elegant Kaioshin suit. His name was Shin, the supreme Kaioshin of Universe 7. Beside him was a being with intense pink skin. He had long white hair, a broad forehead, and a wide marked face, appearing to be of mature age despite his long life. He wore a maroon and cyan Shinjin outfit. His name was Kibito, and he was the assistant and bodyguard of the Supreme Kaioshin. Ah, it's been a while, Supreme Kai, said Beerus as he approached the gods of creation. Lord Beerus, it's an honor to have you on my planet, but tell me, what brings you here? Shin asked the Hakaishin. There's no time for explanations now. You're coming with us. It seems there's been a last-minute meeting at the palace of Grand Zeno-sama, Beerus told the gods, who were astounded upon hearing that name. Zeno-sama, are you sure? Dekoru said, unable to believe that after such a long time, another meeting was taking place, especially since they had heard from their ancestors that his last meeting was about eliminating all universes because of their Hakaishin. Of course, I'm sure. Do you think I'm a liar or what? I'm a god of destruction, and I wouldn't lie about something like this. Before doing that, Zeno-sama would cut out my tongue, Beerus said to the Supreme Kaioshin with a tone of anger. Well, all right. I think it's better we leave before it's too late, exclaimed the Supreme Kaioshin. He then turned to his assistant. It's better if you start investigating everything about this Babidi. It shall be done, sir, Kibito replied, bowing respectfully. Seconds later, they disappeared in a burst of light that surrounded them, leaving only Kibito on the planet. We are taken back to Zeno-sama's palace. After a few minutes, all the gods of destruction appeared along with their angels and Kaioshins. They made their presentation, kneeling in a line on each side as the Grand Priest walked by. What is this visit for? Asked the Hakaishin of Universe 4. Surely Beerus has messed up again. What other reason could there be? Remarked the Hakaishin of Universe 6, standing opposite Beerus. It's always expected. Everything always happens because of you, Beerus, said the Hakaishin of Universe 11. Bunch of incompetents, Beerus muttered as he looked at the other Hakaishins. All right, silence, said the Grand Priest. It's a pleasure to have you here. Today is a special day for all universes because a new god has just been born, he announced, and whispers began to spread among the assembly. Please, silent, the Grand Priest commanded, and everyone fell silent. Greet and venerate our Lord, the creator of everything, Zalama-sama. Daishinkan announced as they saw a figure rising from his throne next to Zeno-sama. Everyone present could not sense his presence but saw that he had an aura that shone brighter than the sun and illuminated more than the stars, something no god had ever seen in their lifetime. It was simply the most beautiful sight they could behold. The aura he emitted was one of peace, yet also of fear, making it clear he was the true god who created all that exists. "It is a pleasure to meet you," Zalama said to the gods, who were astounded to see him for the first time but quickly responded, "It is a pleasure to meet you." All the gods kneeling before Zalama replied. He then proceeded to sit on his respective throne while handing over the small child he was carrying in his arms. "All right, ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for," Daishinkan said as he displayed the baby he was holding. "Greet and venerate the new god, Goku-sama," Daishinkan announced, lifting and showing the child who could only open his eyes wide in amazement at his surroundings, and then he smiled. All the gods, including the angels, Kaioshins, gods of destruction, and the guardians backing Zeno-sama and Zalama, knelt with their heads bowed before Goku. They observed Goku, who seemed to be in a golden cradle, looking around at his surroundings. After the gods greeted Goku, they noticed that behind him was a monkey tail, which left everyone somewhat surprised to see the child's monkey tail swaying back and forth. What surprised them even more was that the little boy emitted a kai that only gods could sense, the divine kai, making everyone realize that he truly was a god. However, seeing his monkey tail move from side to side was a new and surprising sight for them since no god had ever had a monkey tail, adding to their astonishment. The gods of Universe 7 were the most shocked since they had heard about the Saiyans. Beerus himself was in shock, seeing that the small child in the cradle was a Saiyan, the race he had ordered to be exterminated at the hands of the Emperor of Cold, thinking that this might pose a future problem. On the other hand, Whis and Shin were just surprised to see that a Saiyan would be raised as a supreme god. After a few seconds, everyone bid farewell with a bow to their gods and then returned to their respective universes. That's it for this episode, guys. If you've watched to the end, then that may be an indication that you enjoy the episode, so please drop a like so the video could reach more people. See you in the next episode, take care.